first things first, this is still a literature from home.
Mm-hmm.
So we did Emma last week, and
We
I
sure did.
watched the new Emma. Emma with like
yeah.
a period on it. Emma, full stop.
It's a sentence. It's not a name. It's an exclamation.
It was really good. Bill
It's so
Nye
good.
with all his screens, amazing.
He stole the show. I'm glad that you liked the Knightley because at first when I saw him, did I tell you my mom was like, "Oh, he's ugly."
Because he's got one like
when she
wrong
saw
eye.
the trailer. Yeah, you know.
Aw, he's ugly.
When she first saw him, so there's that. But I thought when I watched him, like he's a really good actor. The performance was really good.
What else happened? And then immediately
'cause it's a
after Emma,
pandemic.
I watched Pride and Prejudice because I was
yeah.
like, I want to
You're
be
just in the mood.
that era. I want to be there.
Yeah. They
And
had
I-
plagues too, you know. They had like cholera and stuff.
That's fine. Don't worry about it. And I recently watched Little Women 2019 as well. I'm like,
Oh
I'm there.
yeah, it's good. I showed my parents and they loved it. My dad was like, you know, it's not the sort of thing I'd pick, but it's nice to have a change, you know. That was
Okay,
good.
I've spoken to your father, and he doesn't sound like that.
Well, I don't know what he sounds like.
What do you mean?
I don't know. I can't do an impression of my father. Okay, shall we start? Do you want to start?
Yeah, we're gonna be doing Dracula.
Yeah, what do you know about Dracula?
Alana's favorite movie.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's so fun.
Remember when
Yeah,
we were playing
Gary
the board
Oldman.
game and the score was on and you were having a panic attack?
So we in the brief like window of like 2 weeks when it was legal for people to see each other.
We saw
in
each
the
other,
state
like,
of Victoria.
crazy.
We did see each other, and we played the board game Betrayal at House on a Hill, which is like I highly recommend. Really fun strategic board game. It's different every time, and you start off by building a haunted house, and someone had the bright
Sponsor
idea
us.
of putting on scary music in the background to get everybody into the mood.
Well, we put on the actual recommended playlist first of the game.
Oh yeah, on Spotify. But like half the people didn't know how to play the game. So with all this really intense
No one knew how to
like,
play the game.
choral children ghosts wailing in the background, it was really hard for everybody to.
And that was just
concentrate.
Alana. That wasn't even the music yet. That was just her wailing. I'm hosting my own event. And then also she got drunk, crawled to her bed, and threw up in said bed. Amazing. All before
wow.
11 p.m. on a Tuesday night. That's what we like to hear.
Yeah.
And then some of us have work in the morning. But then
Yeah.
some of us didn't go. And that
That's
was me.
because we screamed saying Panic at the Disco the whole way home.
Oh my god.
That was a really fun night actually.
That was great.
And we
That was an
played
amazing What?
What, which is another board game where you write jokes, and Sam and I
Sponsor
won
us.
equal first with the exact same joke. Do you want to start?
Yeah, bro. Let's fucking do it.
What do you know about Dracula? Like, you've seen the Bram Stoker one, I'm guessing. Well, like, not the
No.
Bram Stoker, the Coppola one.
I haven't.
It's called Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Haven't seen it.
You haven't?
All I know about
Oh.
Dracula is he's a vampire. There's a guy there that's like, yo, you a vampire? And he's like, well, obviously. And then there's Winona
Keanu
Ryder, and
Reeves,
she's
right?
like,
That's who you're thinking about?
who's
Yeah.
the vampire? And I do
Got
know
it.
that it's set in what year again?
It was written in 1897, and it's set, like,
18
around then.
Yeah, I do know that Coke has existed, like Coca-Cola has
Oh.
been invented in like 1886, so it is canonically possible that the guy who's not a vampire is just sipping on a Coke while he's talking to like Dracula. He's just like,
It'd be like green, though. Wasn't it originally green?
I don't know, green and with cocaine.
Yeah.
So he was having a ball.
You're like, I think
And
you're a vampire.
Dracula's like-
And Dracula's like, maybe you're just high.
Dracula's just like, maybe you should stop drinking all that. And he's like, maybe you should stop.
maybe you should stop
vampire."
drinking blood.
That's exactly what happened. So, what else do I know? Gary Oldman is Dracula. Keanu Reeves is Human Boy, and Winona Ryder is human ? Lady.
Yeah. I love that movie. They had to specify it was Bram Stoker's Dracula because there's been so many Draculas since throughout history that like calling
Draculae.
it. Yeah.
Sorry. Draculae, two eyes.
There's a Dracularium of.
Oh yeah, all right, whatever. Now we're just getting too fancy. Getting too big for our
like,
own britches here.
Just calling it Dracula doesn't tell anyone anything about the story. Yeah, we should watch it after this. But first, let's talk about this book. Written by Irish civil servant Bram Stoker, also a theater manager. So Dracula is written almost in like a found footage style. But not. Amazing. It's not footage. it's
found
like,
journals.
Yeah, journals, diaries, letters, newspaper clippings. He's done it, I think, just to try and create this sense of suspense. Like none of the characters really know what's going on. There's like dramatic irony. What we can put together, the evidence, I guess, of what's going on from the different parts of from the different sort of writings that have been collated to form the novel, but the characters kind of don't know what's going on. So that's kind of gives it a sense of suspense and stuff. And the book starts with the diary of Jonathan Harker, an English solicitor. He's just been promoted to solicitor. He's still a little baby. This is Keanu Reeves.
What's a solicitor? Like a
law clerk? Yeah. I think so. Barristers are the ones who like argue in court and stuff, but I think solicitors are the ones who like write stuff.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. But it looks like he does just stuff for people, and that's his job.
Just stuff for people. That's it. Keanu Reeves doing stuff for people.
And at the moment, he's traveling to Transylvania to do a job for a people. And it starts off like part travel journal, part food journal. He like writes down like the different, exotic dishes that he eats, and he's like, I must remember to get a recipe for my fiance Mina when I see her again.
He's got a fiance.
He's got a fiance named Mina.
Nina. I'm guessing
Mina with an M.
That's not Winona Ryder,
It is, but she's a really, really different character in this. Then they kind of make her way more interesting for the movie. No offense, Bram Stoker.
Yes, offense.
He's like, full offense! Catapults out of his grave.
Turning in his grave.
This Irish grave.
Saying
apparently
to the other
he was
corpses.
like a big jock-looking guy with like red hair.
Red hair.
Yeah, he was Irish.
He's a wee ginge.
Mm-hmm. Well, he was a big ginge. He was a big guy.
He was a big... Oh, yeah, he was a... Woo, ginge. I don't know the opposite of wee.
Woo.
Woo.
So he's on his way to meet a wealthy Transylvanian noble, a man called Count Dracula, who is interested in purchasing some real estate in London.
Is he counting stuff at this point? Is he like 1 house, 2 house, 3 house?
He's looking forward to counting stuff. At the moment, he's just got the one castle, and he kind of gazes wistfully out the window, thinking about how if he had more, he'd be able to count them.
Oh, yeah, that's true. He could count like No, you're right.
So on his way there, Jonathan checks into a hotel in Bistritz, where he gets a letter from the Count welcoming to the beautiful Carpathian Mountains and telling him to get the next day's coach to Borgo Pass, where the Count will get a carriage to pick him up and take him to the castle. When Jonathan's leaving the next morning, the innkeeper's wife tells him that the following day is St. George's Day, when, quote, all evil things in the world will have full sway.
Great. What day is that? Just out of curiosity.
It's today.
Perfect.
But
officer, Bram Stoker said.
So she gives him a crucifix, and at first he's like, ew, because he's a Protestant. Ew. But then again, he's kind of like tickled by the attention, as we all would be. So he leaves it around his neck. Like when someone comes up to you and is like, you're gonna die, and you're like, oh, stop it.
Well, no, it kind of reminds me of like him going on holiday and someone gives him a lei and he's like, Oh, it's tacky, but whatever. I kind of like it. Holidays.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm glad we don't have to cast this because it's literally just Keanu Reeves, Gary Oldman, Winona Ryder.
Later, Keanu Reeves does such a bad job. I love him.
What?
I love him, but he is an American and he's not an English man. He's Ted.
He's Neo. He's John Vivek. Like the Vivitch. Oh my god. Talk about great movies. Am I right?
True. Okay, so
sponsor us.
A bunch of peasants crowd around Jonathan as he approaches the coach, freaking him out even more, as he's able to make out a couple weird words that he looks up in his phrase book later and turn out to mean vampire and werewolf and all manner of spooky business. As the coach pulls out, everyone makes the sign of the cross and the sign warding against the evil eye. So his journey in this coach starts out nice and picturesque, but as the night begins to fall, the other passengers on the coach urge the driver to pick up speed. Right, because I guess they're afraid of being out at night on this night when, like, all the bad stuff's out.
He's on the train, they're trying to make it go faster, and they're like, that's not how trains work.
No, it's not a train, it's a carriage. They're all in a carriage together.
Oh.
You know, like the beginning of The Favorite.
Oh my god, okay. I'm there now.
Okay, so they're all urging the driver to go faster. And he's like, sure. And so he, like, whips the horses into a frenzy, and they're like, ow, ow. And they're barreling down the windy mountain roads.
Was that the horses?
That was
or
the horses.
the... Okay.
You know how horses do.
Ow, ow.
All right, I'm going faster. Jeez.
I'm going as fast as I can.
The other passengers start offering Jonathan little tokens, which he assumes are to ward off evil. When they get to the Borgo Pass at last, no one is there to pick up Jonathan.
Oh, he was snubbed.
And the other passengers are like, oh, bummer, no one's here. You better just come with us.
Bummer.
Let's go.
Look at that.
It's just as the driver offers to bring him the next day, a small black carriage arrives with big, gorgeous black horses. The driver of this little black carriage has his face obscured by a big black hat. Jonathan boards and they're off again, and he gets the impression that as they ride, so it's just him now in this small black carriage, just by himself. He gets the impression that as they ride, it's taking too long, and they should have gotten there by now. And as he looks out, he thinks they might be covering the same ground over and over again.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Kind of spoopily doopily. Also paranoidally doidly. It's fine.
Yeah.
It works. Don't worry about it.
At one point, Jonathan sees a flickering blue flame burning somewhere in the trees. The driver pulls over without a word, gets down, and goes to inspect the flame before returning to the carriage and continuing on his way. This happens a couple times.
Are we just not gonna bring up the fact that the trees could be on fire?
I think it's like a little will-o'-the-wisp kind of thing, is the impression that I got.
So I'm guessing these little flames are like oh my god, what's the word? Like a path?
Sort of. It's explained later, so just put a pin in that for the moment.
Okay.
At one point, the driver gathers a few stones around one of the flames, like he's marking the spot where it is.
Ooh. He's Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah, a little bit. Jonathan thinks he can see the fire through the man's body at one point, but then he's like, oh, I'm imagining it. Eventually...
Yeah, that's not how fire works, bro.
Yeah, eventually, very scared, Jonathan finally arrives at a big old Gothic castle on a cliff. Castle Dracula. We're here.
Nice.
After waiting for a long time, Jonathan is finally met by the Count and welcomed inside. So the Count is a tall, thin man with very pale skin, clean-shaven, except for a long white mustache. And he is clad in all black. So it's a little bit different from the Gary Oldman version. Gary Oldman has like weird heart-shaped Tudor hair and like a big red silk robe, like he's Cardinal de Richelieu or some shit.
Ooh, history burn.
Aw. Hurts my feelings. I thought it was a good burn.
It's good for the history people. Yo, doing it for that crowd.
Yeah. When they shake hands, Jonathan is impressed by the unexpected strength of the Count's handshake, though his hand is ice cold.
He's just like, ow. Maybe he's just weak.
Still, the greeting is very warm, and Jonathan's fears melt away now that he is in the company of the rich aristocracy and safe from the dirty peasants.
Oh, okay.
Dinner inside is laid... That was a bit of editorializing. Dinner inside is laid out, but the Count apologizes and says he ate earlier, so he's not hungry anymore, but will hang out with Jonathan while he eats.
That's not creepy at all.
There's a roaring fire in the fireplace, and it's nice, and they chat long into the night. Jonathan notices other weird things about the Count's body, such as pointed ears and extremely sharp-looking teeth, which weirds him out a little bit.
Oh my god, that's actually Little Red Riding Hood. It's like, are you a wolf? No. Okay.
A little bit. Okay, where am I? When he wakes the next day, Jonathan finds a note from the Count excusing himself for the day as he has Count things to do. Counting.
Is that what the note said? Just off on some Count errands. Don't look in the coffin in the basement. Don't worry about it.
Jonathan enjoys a heavy Eastern European meal for breakfast. And he wanders around for a bit.
Was there like a description? Because I would like to hear what the
No, there wasn't,
European
unfortunately. Meal. I don't think that I recall.
It's probably just like a continental hotel breakfast.
Just like boiled eggs in a pile.
And there's like, cut up fruits. And you can choose between like Wheat Bix and like
That's not heavy.
Grain.
Heavy would be
And
like
then...
sausage and stuff.
Fuck, that's heavy. Now that's what I call heavy. Sausages and stuff.
He comes across no servants when he's wandering around the castle. But he explores his bedroom, which is quite nice, and the room adjacent. The furniture is expensive, and there are rich tapestries and fabrics, and a library filled with, he is delighted to find, English books.
Books?
Even
where are they that it wouldn't be English?
Well, they're in Transylvania.
Is that a real place?
I think so. Alana?
Are you nodding because it's a real place, or are you looking it up?
Yeah, like I said, it's real. I knew that. So
Did you?
It even has English phone directories.
Ooh.
So it's like, yeah, he's been making a very, very detailed study of the country where he's planning to buy his holiday house.
Yeah, of course.
Jonathan notices also that there are no mirrors anywhere in the castle. And mainly because he's a bit annoyed, he's going to have to use his little traveling pocket mirror to shave.
He's just like, oh, but I'm so cute.
Dracula comes back in the evening, and they hang in the library, and he talks to Jonathan about England and how he wants to learn the inflections of English speech. He's like practicing his English with Jonathan. It seems that his ultimate goal is to be indistinguishable from a native of England if someone would meet him on the street there. They wouldn't be like,
well,
you're
him
weird
being
foreigner.
a vampire would probably, the pointed teeth and the pointed ears.
Yeah, but he would be like, hello, I'm Dracula. No relation.
No relation to the vampire. They're like, did you say vampire? No.
No. I am a stockbroker.
I love stock.
Can
Can you just remind... Why is Keanu Reeves up there again?
He's helping Dracula purchase the house, so he's there to like give him papers and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
So he traveled from England to fake Pennsylvania.
Fake Pennsylvania. Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And he's like, oh, a little holiday, but also like work. I get paid, so that's nice. It's nice for me, or is it? Nice. It's not.
Okay, keep going.
Jonathan asks Dracula about some of the weird superstitions of the area, trying to get a read on what the weird peasants he met on his journey we're talking about. Like, for example, he asks him about the fire, and the Count's like, the locals believe that on St. George's Day, these little fires appear to show buried treasure.
Ooh.
from like all the bazillions of medieval wars and stuff that happened in these mountains. You know, like kings and stuff were killed, and then their treasures buried somewhere around there, but no one goes out to find the treasure because it's St. George's Day and it's full of evil demons and creatures.
I would find a treasure.
You're not scared.
Not scared. Not scared of no ghosts, so I actually am.
You are.
Oh. I need Nicolas Cage from National Treasure to assist me.
Jonathan tells the Count about his new house. So it's an old rickety mansion in London called Carfax. It's dark and gloomy and isolated, and next door to an old chapel on one side and an insane asylum on the other.
Great.
Perfect.
Perfect location. Like, there'll be screaming from either side. Like, any side you choose, there will be some form of screaming.
It's like me right now. We've got jackhammers on both sides of the house.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, it's Sunday, so they shouldn't be.
No, we're good today. Okay, but back to Dracula.
Oh, yeah. Bacula.
Bacula to Dracula. They chat long into the night, but the Count leaves abruptly before daybreak. He's got count things to do. He's got count things.
He's like, don't worry about it. It's not the sun or anything. It's just, it's how we do it in Transylvania. It's fine.
The next day, Dracula interrupts Jonathan shaving, and Jonathan accidentally cuts himself when he starts in surprise, as he hadn't seen he hadn't seen the Count approach him in his little shaving mirror. When he sees the blood on Jonathan's neck, the Count lunges towards Jonathan's throat, which is also surprising.
He's just like, bro, this is kind of weird.
In his attack, however, the Count touches the crucifix that still hung around Jonathan's neck, and he draws back as if he was burned.
If I was Jonathan, I'd be just so weirded out by now. Just like, didn't see him in the mirror. He's freaking out over that I cut my little neck over shaving, and now he's like recoiling against my cool Christian lay. That's what the crucifix is.
I love that.
It's on just count things.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah, and so he enigmatically warns Jonathan against cutting himself. Quote, in this country. Presumably while wearing a t-shirt that says, "I'm a vampire."
No, I'm a vampire, then there's like a little thing that says not. I'm not a vampire. Or like he looks into the camera like on The Office, like.
The Count also says something about how mirrors make people vain before throwing Jonathan's out the window, which annoys him almost as much as the whole lunging for his throat thing.
I need that to shave. What the fuck?
I'm gonna look scruffy now.
What the fuck?
Jonathan eats breakfast alone, thinking about how he's never seen the Count eat or drink. He's suspicious that there might be something hinky about the Count. So he goes wandering again through the castle, only to discover one locked door after another. Dracula told him he could go anywhere except where the doors were locked.
All of them,
apparently.
Now
all of them are locked. And he's like, "Oh, I'm a prisoner.
I cannot go anywhere. And his mirror's gone.
I can't shave. I have nothing to do."
This vacation sucks.
They have another nighttime chat. Dracula quizzes Jonathan about England and brags about the medieval battles his family fought as if he'd been there himself.
Ooh.
Over the next few days, he instructs Jonathan to write letters to his fiancée and his employer, telling them he will extend his stay in Transylvania by a month.
Nah, bro, I ain't.
He does as he's told, mainly out of fear.
Oh, no.
As Dracula goes to leave, the Count cautions Jonathan against falling asleep in the castle in any room except his own.
Oh my god.
Jonathan hangs his crucifix above his bed and sets out to explore the castle. Oh, and then the creepiest thing happens. This is the thing that creeped me out the most. Looking out a window, he sees Dracula crawling down the sheer face of the castle head first.
Nah, bro.
Like a lizard. And this makes him wonder what sort of creature the Count is.
Oh my god, this fucking guy, he's just like, it's kind of weird, but it's alright. Like, the breakfast is like sausages and shit, so,
Yeah, that's alright. I mean, I kind of miss my mirror, but...
Like, I guess I can just, like, freestyle it, I don't know. Like, some of the copper is kind of reflective. I can always, like, the back of the spoon.
One evening,
Yeah,
Jonathan...
this guy has no
Sorry?
sense of danger. Sorry, I'm just saying
He has no sense of danger. I think he's slowly catching on.
Really?
Yeah, with the whole lunging at the throat. One evening, Jonathan, in a sort of tantrum, forces open a locked room.
Ooh.
It's full of gorgeous furniture. Puts him in mind of a lady's chambers and like a beautiful young medieval lady writing letters to her knight, BF. That's kind of what it makes him think of. So he likes the place and makes him feel a little better. And he settles down on a couch and falls asleep there.
Oh, no. Oh, he's like a little boy that's like, oh, no. He fell asleep in a flower and the witch is going to get him.
Yeah. Now, what happens next, Jonathan isn't sure is or isn't a dream. It seems like 3 beautiful women materialize out of the dust in the air. 2 are dark-haired and 1 is golden-haired. All 3 of them have luscious red lips and sharp-looking teeth. As they approach him, he feels a wicked burning desire that they should kiss him. And one of them, the blonde one, leans down and puts her lips on his neck. Just then, Dracula swoops in to save him, and among other things, tells them that when I am done, you shall kiss him at your will. But at the moment, no smooches, only real estate for Jonathan.
Oh, what's happening there?
However, as a sort of consolation prize, the Count hands over a big old sack with something squirming and whimpering inside. What Jonathan figures to be a...
Is that Winona Ryder?
Even smaller, if you can imagine. It's what Jonathan figures to be a small, half-smothered child. The women seem to disappear into the dust with the sack of child.
Sack of child.
As Jonathan drifts
One
off into
child
unconsciousness
sack,
again.
Oh, no.
He wakes up in his own bed, unsure whether last night was a dream or not. Several days later, Dracula asks Harker to write 3 letters to his fiancée and employer, and to date them June 12, June 19, and 29, even though it is currently only May 19. Yeah, I know, that's creepy, isn't it? The Count...
That's, someone's gonna kill you.
The Count instructs Jonathan to write that he has left the castle and is safely on his way home. Jonathan's like, oh no.
Finally.
Yeah. Meanwhile, a group of what Bram Stoker calls gypsies come past the castle, and Jonathan tries to communicate to them from the window and slips them a letter to Mina, like a real letter to Mina, through the bars. And they're like, okay. Like,
they're like, sure.
Yeah. Like they don't speak English, so they're like, hey, they just give him like a thumbs up. Yeah, finger guns. That night, Dracula casually produces the letter that he tried to sneak out to Mina from his billowy black robe, saying, now this I'm sure you wouldn't have written, as it is a vile outrage to friendship and hospitality. And he burns the letter, and Jonathan again is like, oh no.
Damn it.
A couple weeks pass, so it's now mid-June. More gypsies arrive at the castle, and Jonathan sees them unloading large wooden boxes from a wagon.
Uh-oh.
Some of his clothes, especially his traveling clothes, disappear from his closet.
That's not good, is it?
No. I don't think you could say anything that's happened so far has been good.
The hot naked ladies was pretty good, I guess. Until they tried to eat him. And the breakfasts are good.
The breakfasts are good. They sound great.
Yeah, like hotel room service. Oh, it's not really room service. He has to go down to the buffet hall with all the other families, whatever. But
there's no one else there. There's not even any servants.
It's just there.
It's like an Airbnb full castle. Just with locked doors, so you can't go in some of the rooms, because that's where they keep their...
Oh my god, Sandy. That's what we should do for your birthday this year. Rent out an Airbnb castle.
That would be amazing.
And like play a murder mystery game
Aww.
in there. And someone has
If we lived in Europe, we
die.
could. Someone has to actually die.
No.
Who? Who said that?
Me, officer?
Someone suggested crazy things.
Someone sounds like they're Draculaing over here.
So he's convinced there's a frame-up going on. He actually sees the Count, he witnesses the Count creeping down the side of the castle again, wearing his clothes, carrying a sack, just like the one Jonathan had seen with the child in it.
child sack.
A sack of child.
One sack of child, please.
Later that day, a local woman appears at the castle gate, clearly distraught and demanding that the monster return her child to her.
Ooh,
yeah.
He's in the sack, babe. I don't know what to tell you. He's sacked off.
A pack of wolves emerges from the forest and devours her. Oh no.
Devours her?
Yeah.
What? Oh my god, I was gonna say it's like Twilight, but it's not.
No. Desperate now, Jonathan resolves to climb up a portion of the castle wall in order to reach Dracula's room during the day to see what he can discover. No. The room is empty except for a heap of gold.
Oh.
Discovering a dark, winding stairway downwards, Harker follows it and finds 50 boxes of earth, like the ones the gypsies were loading, in a tunnel-like passage. He opens several of them, and in one of them, it's the Count. Is he dead?
Uh-oh.
Is he asleep? He's definitely freaky, so Jonathan runs back up to his room.
He's dead, question mark, asleep, question mark, freaky.
Tick.
Full stop.
On June 29th, Dracula promises Jonathan that he can leave the next day. Jonathan's like, well, what about now? And Dracula's like, oh, sure, and unlocks the front door for him, just as hundreds of wolves start howling in the woods.
What the fuck?
Dracula's like, have a nice trip. And Jonathan's like, wow, actually, I'm super tired. Maybe I'll leave in the morning.
Actually, you know what? Now that you bring it up, tomorrow sounds great.
Later, he overhears the Count say to someone, tonight is mine, tomorrow night is yours. Presumably, he thinks to the vampire ladies. He's like, oh no, I'm gonna get eaten. Harker.
Sexy, sharp teeth lady.
Yeah. Jonathan opens his bedroom door to see them. Oh, to see the 3 voluptuous women. Vampire women.
Nice.
Women. Before quickly shutting it again. He's like,
he's just like,
he returns to his room and prays for his safety. In the morning, Jonathan wakes up early and climbs down to the Count's boxes again. Dracula is asleep as before, but looks younger and sleeker, and Harker notices blood trickling down from the corners of his mouth.
Oh.
Yeah.
What a messy eater. Just wipe your mouth.
Use a napkin, jeez.
I know, right? Jesus.
Harker... Jonathan takes up a shovel, meaning to kill the vampire, but the blow glances harmlessly off the Count's forehead. He's shovel-proof.
That makes for some great comedy.
Donk.
Oh, you got it.
Harker resolves to take some of Dracula's gold and attempt to escape by descending the castle wall. He signs off his diary, his final entry, with a prayer. Sort of like, wish me luck. But this is where the diary ends.
Ooh.
The next part of the story consists of letters and diary entries by and to his fiancée, Mina Murray. So this is...
Oh, the fake letters. All right, here we go.
Mina is a prim and proper English school mistress who is studying shorthand and typewriting. It's her super boring hobby, I guess. Mina's way more interesting friend, Lucy, writes to her about her love life. She had 3 proposals in one day.
What? Whoa.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to hear about them?
Yes.
Okay, the first was from Dr. John Seward, the hot director of a lunatic asylum in London.
Oh, no, what?
Quincy Morris, a hot, rich American... What? I've got oil baron? ? He's just American.
He sounds cute.
Yeah. Her heart, however, belongs to the hot, rich English gentleman named Arthur Holmwood, who will eventually become Lord Godalming when his dad dies.
Oh.
And his is the proposal that she accepts.
Nice.
Now, we go to Dr. John Seward's diary. Remember, he's the hot director of a lunatic asylum.
Yeah.
And his diary is recorded on the phonograph. And I wrote, imagine owning one of the first recording devices and just using it to tell your problems too.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, he admits to being bummed about having his proposal rejected. Things were so high stakes back then. Like, you couldn't even ask someone out on a date. You just had to ask them to marry you.
To marry you, yeah.
I wonder if it, hurt as much when you were rejected. Or, the same. Differently.
We can go back in time and ask.
Anyway, he distracts himself from his rejection by talking about a new patient of his, a man named Renfield. who is super weird and likes catching flies and then catching spiders and feeding the flies to the spiders and then eating the spiders himself.
Ew.
Yeah.
Ew.
Okay, back to Mina's journal. She and
what's
Lucy
up with her?
have gone to a picturesque town called Whitby on the northeast coast of England on a holiday to get away from being rich for a little while.
Oh,
You know,
rich people things.
yeah. While they walk around the cliffs, they hang out with this old, grizzled ex-sea dog. Yeah, the rack.
Salty sea dog. What's up? The back.
Who bothers them with stories about the town and legends, which he scoffs at because he doesn't believe in silly magic like dumb girls. I'm a little bit drunk when I was writing this last
I can
night.
tell.
Yeah. His name is Mr. Swales. Mr. Swales says that most of the graves in Whitby are empty because most of the residents died out at sea. Oh. Meanwhile, Renfield is still fucking with animals, but now he's feeding spiders to sparrows.
And he's eating the sparrows?
Yeah, he like bites off their heads at one point.
Nah, bro, that's a Marilyn Manson bullshit.
Seward classifies Renfield as zoophagous or life-eating.
Oh no.
And says he's like a maniac who desires to, quote, absorb as many lives as he can. So I think he's like the lives of power. The more flies a spider eats, the more power it has, and then the more spiders the sparrow eats, the more power it has, kind of thing. Anyway.
No, that's
he
not how
asks
that works.
Seward for a kitten, presumably
No.
to eat the sparrows.
He's like turduckening them. He's like a power turducken.
Yeah.
Oh God,
Indeed.
Twink, can you believe it?
Yeah, so this is intercut with Mina's diary. Apparently, Lucy has started up again her old childhood habit of sleepwalking. When hanging with Mr. Swales one day, Mina and Mr. Swales see a ship drifting about offshore as if no one were at the helm, as if no one were, like, steering it.
The ship was sleepwalking.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Guessing that the vessel's Russian, by the look of her, Mr. Swales assures Mina that they will surely hear more about it. Next, we get a couple of newspaper clippings, which reveal that the ship was called the Demeter, and that it washed up on shore in Whitby in a huge storm. None of its crew are on board, except its captain, who is dead, clasping a crucifix and lashed to the wheel.
Spoopy.
It's reported that when the ship ran aground, a dog leapt out and ran up the hills, disappearing into the countryside. The only cargo on the ship is a number of large wooden boxes, slated to be delivered to a Whitby solicitor. We get some entries of the captain's log on the ship. Apparently the ship departed Varna, which is like a Russian port or something, with little trouble. However, 10 days into the voyage, a crew member goes missing. Soon another... What?
I'm just excited for the spoops.
Just eating your biscuit. Soon, another crew member says he spots a tall, thin man on board who he doesn't recognize as one of the crew. They all search the ship and find no stowaways, but every couple of days, another crew member disappears. A pall of fear hangs over them, and the first mate begins to go mad. By the time they reach the English coast, there are only 4 sailors left.
Well, that's not good.
A big old fog settles over the boat, preventing them from reaching the harbour. 2 more sailors vanish, bringing the total to 4. Wait, what? To 2.
How drunk were you when you wrote this?
Yeah, I was pretty drunk. The first mate is convinced there's an intruder and goes below to find and confront him, only to bust out of the hold and hurl himself into the sea. He decides to pass away.
Just gently. He's just like, I've seen too much. It's just gently. Alana's enthusiastically nodding.
The captain, the only man left, resolves to lash himself and his crucifix to the wheel to prevent the monster from interfering. He's going to stay with his ship until the end, he decides. Back in Mina's journal, we learn that Lucy's sleepwalking is getting worse. One reason Mina thinks Lucy might be agitated is that old Mr. Swales was found with a broken neck and a look of horror on his face.
Yeah, that would agitate anyone.
Yeah.
Mina, you psychopath. She's just like, it's just kind of weird that you're so affected by this. Like, he's just dead.
He was old anyway. On August 10th, Mina awakens to find Lucy's bed empty. She goes outside to try and find Lucy, worried about the, cliffs and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lucy is in the churchyard where they often sat talking to Mr. Swales, reclining on their favourite bench with a dark, tall figure bending over her. When Mina reaches Lucy, Lucy's still asleep, gasping for breath, but the dark figure has vanished. Mina wraps Lucy in a shawl and sort of guides her home without, waking her up, is my impression. When Lucy wakes up in the morning, Mina finds 2 little red points like pinpricks on her friend's neck and worries that she accidentally pricked Lucy with her safety pin when fastening the shawl around
Twice?
her. Yeah.
Just like, oops.
Lucy sleepwalks again the following 2 nights, but Mina has locked the bedroom door, which causes the sleeping Lucy to kind of give up and go back to bed. She kind of just kicks the door.
She's just like, she just keeps wham, crashing into it.
Like a glitching video game character.
Like a Sims character.
Yeah. Later, both awake, they go for another walk in the graveyard. As the sun sets, they see a dark figure in the distance there, and Lucy mumbles under her breath something about the red glint of his eyes.
Yeah, not weird at all.
That night, Mina wakes up. Mina's like, nah. Yeah.
Just Lucy things.
Probably just Hazel Lucy.
Don't worry about it.
That night, Mina wakes up to see Lucy sitting up in bed, pointing at the window. Mina looks out and sees a large bat fluttering in the moonlight. When she turns back to Lucy, she's sleeping peacefully. In the 40s movie with Bela Lugosi as Dracula, or the cool black and white version, the bat is so funny because it's not even anatomically, it doesn't look like a bat at all. It looks like a Muppet, and it's just flapping against the window on wires.
I'm looking it up.
And everything else is played so seriously.
Bat.
When Mina turns back to Lucy, she's sleeping peacefully. During the next few nights, Lucy grows pale and haggard, as if she's lost a lot of blood or something. The puncture wounds in her neck have grown larger as well.
Surely that's not a safety pin anymore.
Mina's have I been stabbing her more times with my safety pin in our sleep?
In the same spot, making it gradually bigger?
Just stretching it. Next, we get a letter from a Whitby solicitor, ordering the boxes of earth from on board the Demeter to be delivered to the estate of Carfax, which you'll recall is the old mansion Dracula purchased next door to the lunatic asylum.
The perfect place for a vampire.
Yeah. Mina reports in her... He actually says something like that. He's like, I love the dark and the quiet. It's perfect for me. I like gloomy places.
But there's a church next door. Does he know that?
Yeah. He's fine with that. Mina reports in her diary that Lucy's health seems to be getting better, and she's finally heard from Jonathan. He's in a hospital in Budapest, suffering from something they call brain fever, which sounds like a made-up 19th century illness. So...
Brain fever.
Brain fever. I got brain fever. Mina prepares to leave England to find him there and attend him and bring him back home.
Oh.
Yeah, they're in love. Or whatever. Dr. Seward back in the nut house, which is probably problematic. Back in the asylum.
We're gonna get cancelled, Sandy. We're gonna get cancelled.
He's still talking into his little phonograph about Renfield. The man has grown violent and boastful, telling the doctor his, quote, master is at hand. One night, Renfield escapes the asylum running next door to Carfax, where Dr. Seward finds him pressing against the door of the little chapel I mentioned earlier. He's calling out to his master and promising obedience. They drag him back to his cell. So now Mina is in Budapest, writing to Lucy that Jonathan is, quote, a wreck of himself and remembers nothing of his time in Transylvania. The nun attending Jonathan, this is a Catholic hospital, so it's attended by nuns.
Thank you.
So Jonathan's still got his diary, and knows that the cause of his, quote, brain fever is in its pages. He gives Mina the diary, asking her to promise that she won't bring it up, or, like, read it, or, like, yeah.
Just don't look at it.
Unless, quote, some solemn duty requires it.
It's got, like, a little lock on it, you know?
Wow.
And it's like, keep out.
In, like, glitter pen.
Yes.
They decide to get married immediately, and Mina seals the diary shut with wax. So you were close.
Nice.
She just pours wax on it, I guess. Lucy writes to congratulate the new Mina Harker. And that's her last name now because she's married.
I understand marriage, yes.
Renfield, the crazy man, is more docile these days, reportedly mumbling, "I can wait," over and over again.
He can wait.
He can, and he does. A few days later, though, he escapes again. So can he? Can he wait?
Oh.
And he runs to Carfax again. Doc follows with his attendants, and Renfield is about to attack them when he grows calm at the sight of a bat flying in front of the moon. Now we see that Lucy's beginning a diary, because everyone else has one.
Oh. She's just like, okay, fine, me too.
Where she writes about bad dreams that she's having, and that something seems to be scratching at her window at night. She's become pale and weak, and out of concern, her fiancé Arthur writes to Dr. Seward, asking him to come and examine the woman who rejected his marriage proposal if it's not too awkward.
He examines her, and his doctor conclusion, what do you call it? His diagnosis is dumb bitch. Then he just like walks out. He's just like
puts his hat back on.
Yeah, I don't know what this movement is, but whatever.
He drops his stethoscope like a mic.
This is the guy that's been recording his diary, right?
Yeah.
That's been like doing like voice memos like grocery list eggs.
Like Matt Damon in The Martian.
Oh my god, it's exactly like Matt Damon. Let's cast him as Matt Damon in The Martian.
On Mars, and this is a doctor on Earth.
Yeah, exactly like Matt Damon in The
he's
Martian.
Matt Damon.
Does he make poop potatoes as well?
And Renfield is Ben Affleck.
I've never heard someone say Affleck in my entire life.
Affleck?
Yeah, bro.
I don't know. I've been in isolation so long, I don't know how words.
You don't know how it works.
50-50'd it.
He chose the wrong side.
He did. So he comes over. He reports that he doesn't know what's going on with Lucy, but if they allow him, he will call up someone who will. His old mentor from Amsterdam, Professor Van Helsing.
Oh! I didn't know he was in this. I thought he had his own film franchise.
He is.
I didn't know there was like an Avengers crossover.
So this is both of their first book. So.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. Do you guys remember that movie Van Helsing from like the fucking Ooze? Okay, so that's my who played Van Helsing? Who was Mr. Helsing
in Bram Stoker's Dracula?
Alana, who was it?
It was actually Anthony Hopkins.
The original one, the Van Helsing, like the standalone. Yeah,
In the
is there
standalone,
Van Helsing
it was Hugh
in the Gary Oldman one?
In Gary Oldman, it's Anthony Hopkins.
Oh, okay. But yeah, no, the Hugh Jackman one, I remember I saw that.
Yeah, so that's like a funny, like modern. What if Van Helsing was like young and hot? In the book, he's like an old man. He's like a doctor and a professor. He's not like a vampire hunter so much.
Oh.
But he's still cool.
Boring.
So he comes, he gives Lucy a checkup, and concludes that though he can't pinpoint the cause, she's lost a lot of blood.
Brain fever.
Yeah. Meanwhile, at the asylum, Renfield is throwing out his flies, claiming he's sick of all that rubbish. He's going through a phase. Now we begin a long saga of Lucy getting better for a while, then getting worse. They transfuse blood to her. First, her fiancés, Arthur Holwood.
Are they at least the same blood type? Oh my goodness.
I don't know. it's 18th century. First, her fiance transfuses blood to her because it's romantic. But then when she gets worse again, and he's already given, like, too much blood, Dr. John Seward...
He's also woozy. He's just like, oh.
Yeah, then Dr. John Seward gives her blood. They all agree not to tell Arthur, so he still feels special.
Okay.
Meantime, Van Helsing is putting garlands of garlic everywhere in her room, which smells amazing. He's not explaining this to anyone, but he's smart and Dutch, and everyone kind of goes along with it.
He's just like, it just...
It works.
Smells nice. It works? That's the Dutch accent. It works.
Unfortunately, one night, Lucy's mom walks into her room and is like, wow, it stinks in here. So she chucks out all the garlic and leaves the window wide open to get her some fresh air. And, of course, some fresh vampire molestation, so.
Oh my god, Cassandra.
Well, fresh vampire shenanigans. How about that?
There you go. Hijinks.
Hijinks. It's fun. It's whimsical.
It's whimsical. It's not rape. Don't worry about it.
They transfuse blood to her again to stop her from dying, and they tell her mom to please not interfere with her treatment again. 4 days go by, and she's fine. Meantime, Renfield attacks the doctor and cuts his wrist, and licks up the blood and rants, "The blood is life," over and over and over again.
Okay, why is Renfield escaping his fucking room? Just keep him in there. What's happening?
I think the doctor went in to see him in his room when this happened, but either way. Also, a wolf has escaped from the zoo, so there's that.
There's a zoo back then already?
Yeah.
Damn. Oh.
There's always been zoos.
It's Jacob Black. I can't believe Winona Ryder has to choose between a human, a werewolf, and a vampire. There's no... Oh, I guess there's humans in Twilight, but they're kind of lame. Like Mike.
Charlie.
Do you remember when they go on that awful, like, movie date thing and both their hands are, like, open, waiting for Bella to, like, hold one of them?
No.
God, that was terrible.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, yeah.
On the night of the wolf's escape, Lucy wakes, frightened by a flapping at the window and a howling outside. Her mom comes in, also scared by the noise, and gets under the covers with her. Suddenly, the wolf leaps into the room, shattering the window.
What?
Mid-fatal heart attack, Lucy's mom tears the wreath of garlic from Lucy's neck and then dies. As you will when you're having a fatal heart attack.
I always try to make sure I rip off my daughter's garlands of garlic too before I pass away.
It's, you gotta remember those.
It's gaudy.
Yeah.
It's gauche.
You gotta. 4 household maids enter, horrified at the sight of their dead mistress, and go calm themselves with wine in the dining room. But the wine is drugged and they all pass out, so Lucy's fucked.
Fuck!
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Oh, right.
Like, to them drinking the wine, but then they got roofied.
Yeah.
So that's not good.
Don't drink the wine.
Who roofied the fucking wine?
Dracula? I don't know. Van Helsing and the doc arrive on the scene. Lucy's neck is mangled, and she's on the edge of death again. Now it's the American Quincy Morris's turn to give blood.
Yeah. Like, the people that she rejected, they're like, so...
He asks, what has become of all the blood that has already been transferred to Lucy? To which I assume Van Helsing quickly changes the subject. Arthur comes back, and his presence cheers Lucy up. During Lucy's last couple days, she dies.
Oh no.
Doc Seward notices a bat flapping at her window. She starts pushing away the garlic as she sleeps.
Oh no.
On September 20, the wounds on Lucy's neck have disappeared. She's near the end of her life. The doctors awaken Arthur to say bye-bye. It is weirdly...
You were too drunk to be writing this. To say bye-bye. Just like red wine and you're like... Oh my goodness, Cassandra.
In a weirdly seductive voice, she asks him to kiss her, but as he leans down, Van Helsing stops him. And then says, okay, you can kiss her, but only on the forehead.
No mouth action.
There's gentlemen present. When Lucy is dead, she seems to recover the beauty that her illness took from her. She seems ironically more alive than she did when she was alive. Lucy is buried in garlic. So Or in like garlic garlands, not like in garlic. She's got.
Is the rest of this like this? Just you drunkenly going, bye bye, garlic bitch. Like, what is going on?
And they put a crucifix in her mouth. I don't think Van Helsing has explained this to anyone yet. They just seem to be going along with it, though.
I know. Is anyone gonna question him? Like, hey, Doc, I just got a question. He's like, silence. I am Dutch. I am smart. My name sounds super cool.
Van Helsing tells a confused Dr. Seward that after the funeral, they must cut off Lucy's head and take out her heart.
Oh. Okay.
And he's like, I'm confused.
Sure.
The next day, however, Van Helsing discovers that someone has stolen the crucifix from the body and tells Seward that they will have to wait before doing anything more.
Why? What?
Van Helsing asks Holmwood for Lucy's personal papers, her diaries and letters and stuff, hoping that they will provide a clue as to the cause of her death.
Vampires.
That's just every page just has vampires written on it.
Vampires.
Or like in the papers, there's like an envelope and it says clue on it, and then you open it up and it just says vampires.
And it's just vampires.
Mina writes in her diary that in London she and Jonathan ran into a weird tall man with a black moustache and a beard, which freaked Jonathan out. Later, he forgets all about it. This prompts Mina to read Jonathan's diary, though, to find out what the hickety heck is going on with him.
Oh, she cracks the wax.
She does. Mina then gets a telegram that Lucy has died, followed by a cutting from a local paper that multiple children have been abducted in Hampstead Heath by a strange woman children call the Bloofer Lady. I don't know why. Bloofer?
The what
Bloofer.
lady?
Bloofer.
Bloofer.
Dunno. When the children are found, though, they have weird wounds in their necks. Mina is horrified by Jonathan's journal, as we were. Van Helsing...
As we were in the first act.
Van Helsing, having heard about Mina's involvement with Lucy's sleepwalking from Lucy's letters and diary and stuff, comes to visit her to do some investigating. She's so impressed with him that she gives him Jonathan's diary to read also. So Van Helsing's like getting all these pieces of the puzzle. And Van Helsing confirms that Jonathan is not crazy, which cures Jonathan's amnesia, so that's nice.
He's like, I remember.
Yeah, Van Helsing's like, you're not crazy. And he's like, well, now that you mention it.
Well, thank you.
Having heard about the Bloofer Lady, Van Helsing concludes that it must be Lucy who is responsible for the marks on the children's necks and tells Dr. John Seward so. He's like, no way. And Van Helsing is like, yes, they.
Did you write that down phonetically as well? Yes, they.
Yeah, I did.
Yes, they. Oh, you were drunk. All right, keep going.
They visit one of the wounded children and find the marks on his neck are identical to Lucy's. That night, they open Lucy's coffin. It's empty.
Bruh.
Seward is like, bruh. Wow, a lot of grave robbers this time of year. And Van Helsing is like, you idiot, she's a sexy vampire prowling the night time.
Bruh. Again, me and Seward.
Near dawn, Seward witnesses a white streak moving between the trees really fast. He and Van Helsing approach to find a child lying nearby. They find Lucy back in her coffin, radiantly beautiful, and Seward finally gets on board with the whole vampire idea. Van Helsing says it's stake through the heart o'clock, but they got to get the other lads on board first, for some reason.
Why?
I don't know. Friendship.
Let's do it.
Friendship. Holmwood is initially opposed to mutilating his fiance's corpse, but finally agrees to accompany them to the graveyard. Peer pressure.
He's like, all right, let's fucking stab her, whatever.
Let's desecrate her. But Lucy's grave is empty again.
Ooh.
Van Helsing seals the door of the tomb with communion wafers.
Sure.
Like just shoving them in the crack.
And he's like, all right, keep going.
To prevent Lucy from re-entering, eventually a figure appears dressed in white funeral garb and carrying a child. It's Lucy, or rather a sexy monster that looks like Lucy, with eyes unclean and full of hellfire, and a mouth stained with fresh blood. So she tries to seduce Arthur into coming with her. She's like, hey, baby, remember me?
Hey, baby, it's me. I'm all hot and sexy. She already was hot and sexy, but now I guess she's, like, dangerous. So kind of like...
Yeah. Van Helsing brandishes a crucifix and is like, bros before hoes.
Did you write that down?
Yeah, I did.
Cassandra, who are you? Bros before hoes.
So she recoils, obviously, from the crucifix. And Van Helsing moves the communion wafers, so she slips through the door of her tomb. They return the following evening and stake her. Arthur does it because he's so in love. As she returns to a state of beauty, and Van Helsing is like, good job on saving her soul. But he's also like, we are not done yet, right? Because Dracula's obviously still out there. Van Helsing urges everyone to come and stay with John Seward at the lunatic asylum. You know, fun little getaway with John at the asylum.
At the lunatic asylum, sure, yeah. That's okay.
Mina offers to transcribe Seward's phonograph journal with her typewriting skills. And notes its account of Lucy's 2 deaths. So she's up to speed. Seward reads the Harker journals in the meantime, so they're like swap journals, basically. And he realizes for the first time that Dracula is his neighbor.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I really love it if someone wrote a book about, like, reading my journals, and it's just, like, they're just too sad to read. They're just, like, nah, I can't even read them. They're just like,
no one wants to write journals when they're happy. You just want to live.
That's true.
So that's why journals are always sad, because you only want to write when you're sad.
That's true. When you're happy, you're too busy, like, being happy out there. But when you're sad,
stuff.
you're in here and you're just like, your diary. You would not believe what happened today.
A vampire.
Right. A vampire bit me.
So we're all staying at the lunatic asylum, reading each other's journals. So Seward makes
a fun sleepover.
Seward makes a connection to Renfield's weird behavior.
Finally.
Everyone is developing a crush on Mina for being so, like, sensible and virtuous. She's Julie Andrews. Everyone's like, wow, she's great.
Where the fuck is Keanu Reeves? He's like, that's my wife.
He's using his solicitor powers to research the boxes of earth that were shipped from Transylvania to England. He's trying to locate them all. He discovers that all 50 were delivered to the chapel at Carfax, but some have moved elsewhere in the recent weeks. Curious, Mina asks Dr. Seward if she can visit Renfield, and he's like, sure, because there are no rules in the 1890s.
Yeah, that's true.
He frantically swallows all his bugs before she arrives, like you'd like clean your house before a date.
He's just like shoves them all. He's like, this is so embarrassing. I'm so sorry. I didn't have a chance to clean up. He's just like,
he doesn't have like blankets to put them under.
That's so gross. Okay, keep going.
But he's nice and polite to her, and they get along. Van Helsing catches up with everybody at the asylum. Pleased to see that Seward's diaries and letters have been typed and placed in order, he compliments Mina on her work, but hopes she will be spared a role in the violent business before them. Nice. The destruction of the vampire, he notes, is, quote, no part for a woman.
He obviously hasn't watched Vampire Diaries.
He gives everyone a pep talk on taking on the Count. He says that such creatures are immortal and immensely strong. This is kind of where we get like a laundry list of what vampires can do and are.
What did you write them down?
Yes. So
nice.
Immortal, immensely strong, have command over various animals and their elements. So like storms and fogs and stuff. They can vanish and change form at will. So he can turn into a bat and all that stuff. However, they also have certain weaknesses. He cannot survive without blood. He cannot enter a house unless summoned, unless invited. He loses his power at daybreak. I don't think he dies in the sun, because I think they saw him on the street in London in the sun, but he doesn't have any powers.
Oh, okay.
Although, they must seek shelter in the earth or a coffin. So at some point, they need to do that.
And it's special earth. I don't know why it has to be special earth.
It's from their homeland, I think. It's from where they were created. Yeah. But they're powerless before crucifixes, communion wafers, and other Catholic holy objects. So that's our vampire.
Garlic?
Law. And garlic, yeah. So step 1, track down his dirt.
I thought you were going to bring out like a visual aid, just like...
Look at PowerPoint. That'd be amazing. The entire company asks to see Renfield for whatever reason. He makes a remarkably rational and passionate plea to be released at once in order to avoid terrible consequences. Seward says, "No way, Jose." And the men go to Carfax.
No way,
stinks.
Jose. Not in the 1890s. It would literally be, "No way, Joseph." Oh, that's a Bo Burnham joke, though.
Yeah.
Can't take credit for that laugh.
So Carfax stinks, smells really bad, and they find 29 of the original 50 boxes of earth. To everyone's horror and disgust, rats begin to fill the chapel, but they're able to whistle for dogs to chase away the rats, so it's fine. Van Helsing tries to quiz Renfield, but to no avail. Meanwhile, Mina wakes up one night to find her window open, though she is certain that she had closed it. She stares out the window at the thin streak of white mist that seems to be alive. She awakes to find a pillar of cloud in her room.
Where the fuck is Keanu Reeves?
Doing solicitor things.
It's nighttime.
Yeah, I don't know. She sees they sleep in separate rooms. Very virtuous. She sees a livid white face bending over her, but she assumes she dreamed it. Renfield is found lying in his cell covered in blood and admits to the men that Dracula visited him, promising him lots of living creatures from which to gain strength. Later, when Mina visited him, Renfield noticed her paleness and realized that Dracula had been, quote, taking the life out of her. That night, the Count had
It's just
slipped
Keanu
into
Reeves.
his
They just
room.
fighting all the time. You're taking the life out of me.
That night, the Count had slipped into his room and violently flung him to the floor, unknown to the rest of them. Before escaping the asylum, the Count had one last visit to the lunatic, breaking his neck and killing him.
Oh, Renfield.
However, for the moment, the four men are rushing upstairs to the Harker's room. Finding it locked, they break down the door on a terrible scene. Jonathan lies unconscious. Mina kneels on the edge of the bed, and the Count stands over her as she drinks from a wound on his breast. Dracula turns on his boobie. Dracula turns on the intruders. His eyes aflame with devilish passion. But Van Helsing, throws a communion wafer at him. Count retreats.
Just
Like get a card throwing.
He's like, yeah.
So the Count.
So wait, how's Keanu Reeves? He's dead.
He's unconscious.
And Mina's a fucking vampire now, apparently.
Yeah, pretty much.
Suckling on his titty. Alright, alright, here we go.
He turns into vapor and escapes under the door. Morris chases the vapor to see a bat flying away from Carfax, so he's out there. He's also torn apart the study in an attempt to destroy their research and diaries and stuff. Little did he know that Mina had typed up duplicates and kept them in a safe, because she's a smart gal.
She's the fucking best.
She is. Mina tells everyone the Count threatened to kill Jonathan if Mina made a sound. He drank blood from her throat, telling her it was not the first time he had done so. Then he, did the whole slice his chest open, made her drink from his cut.
Sure, yeah, blood plate,
and
whatever.
he mocks his pursuers and assures Mina that he would make her, quote, flesh of my flesh. So he's turning her into a vampire.
Stop it.
Now it's on like Donkey Kong.
Okay, you were really drunk.
Yeah,
I think we should just call it a day.
we're getting there.
I think we should just quit while we're barely ahead.
Harker's solicitor powers reveal that 2 houses in London were the destination of the other boxes of dirt. Harker and his compatriots go to, I didn't write this, go to Carfax the next day. Oh, and they put a communion wafer in each of Dracula's boxes of earth, rendering them unfit for the vampire's habitation. It's like leaving
That's
like
so funny because it's just one wafer and he's like, oh.
It's like if you put a cat poop in there, you'd be like, oh, can't use it now.
It's like a turd.
Before they leave Mina behind to go to the Count's other houses, Van Helsing seals Mina into her room with communion wafers, and he touches her forehead with one of them, actually burns her, and leaves like a communion wafer-shaped scar, which makes her very upset. She starts crying and calling herself unclean, as you would. Morris and Holmwood, which is autocorrected to Hollywood. So So those two head off to the London house, and Jonathan and Van Helsing take the house in Piccadilly. After doing all this stuff, they realize that one box is missing.
Ooh.
So they've gotten rid of all of his boxes except one. Mina sends a message to them that Dracula has left Carfax, and the men anticipate that he will arrive in Piccadilly soon to try to protect his boxes. They hide, wait for him, he arrives, they try to ambush him, he leaps out a window and escapes. Van Helsing realizes that Mina has a connection to the Count now, and he hypnotizes her, which allows her to sort of see what the Count is doing and allows them to track him to an extent. So she indicates she hears noises of sea travel. So he's on the run. He's out of England. So he's probably headed back to Castle Dracula. They decide to pursue him there because if they don't kill him, Mina will transform into a vampire, right?
Oh, so if they kill him, she'll just be human and fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Van Helsing's bros discover that the Count has boarded a ship named the Tsarina Catherine, which is bound for Varna, the same Russian port from which Dracula sailed 3 months before. So even though it takes longer to travel to Castle Dracula by sea than over land, it's like safer for him. He's less likely to be bothered in his little box, right? He's less likely to be discovered. So that's why he's doing it. So they think they can catch up with him if they travel over land. This time they have to bring Mina along because a telepathic connection to the Count might come in useful. She convinces them to take her.
It could, yeah.
Yeah. Before they leave, though, Mina asks the group to pledge that they will, for the sake of her soul, kill her if she should transform into a vampire. And they all solemnly do so. They take the Orient Express, headed for Varna, where they learn that Dracula has actually given them the runaround and has docked in the port of Galatz instead.
Ah, got him.
Got him. They get on a train to Galatz. Van Helsing realizes Mina's connection might go both ways, helping the Count avoid them. Which makes sense. It's Voldemort. All over again. When they get to Galatz, it's revealed a businessman named Emanuel Hildesheim picked up the box and passed it to a trader named Petrov Skinsky. Shortly thereafter, Skinsky's body was found in a graveyard with his throat torn out. So just count things. So now the Count could have taken any one of a number of routes to the castle. So the group splits up and spreads out. Mina and Van Helsing take a train, Holmwood and Harker hire a steamboat, and Seward and Morris travel across the countryside on horseback.
Oh,
Van Helsing...
That sounds fun.
Yeah. Van Helsing hopes to get to the castle before Dracula. He might be able to, like, purify the place before the Count even arrives.
Do we get any backstory on why Van Helsing knows all this vampire nonsense?
Not really. He's a professor. He studies stuff. He's Dutch.
Just vampire stuff.
He's smart. During their journey up the river, Jonathan and Arthur hear of a large double-crewed boat ahead of them and figure that this vessel must be Dracula's mode of transport. As Mina and Van Helsing reach the Borgo Pass, which you'll remember from where Jonathan was in the first act, where he was picked up by that carriage.
By the dope carriage, I remember. And the other travelers were like, just hang out with us.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to a hostel.
The 3 female vampires who visited Jonathan months before reappear.
Oh, yeah, the sexy.
Yeah.
Oh, no, there they are.
And they're like trying to tempt Van Helsing and Mina to come with them. And they literally frighten the horses to death. The horses just like pass away.
Passed away? Oh, God.
Van Helsing leaves Mina asleep within the circle of holy wafers.
He's got so many of them.
He's got like a big knapsack, but it's just full of holy communion wafers.
Yeah, like you can buy if you've seen Lady Bird, there's like this big container of them and they're just like eating out of it, which is kind of like an unrealized childhood dream of mine because I always thought they tasted kind of fun.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind eating a few wafers. I don't want them to be like blessed though, just like the unblessed versions, like fresh out of the unblessed oven.
What if it tastes good because it's blessed though? What if it's Jesus?
I'll try one of each and then
make it
like a taste test. Can you taste which one is blessed? Which one's Pepsi? Which one's Coke? I don't know.
I need like Van Helsing like asks Mina. He's like, "Can I? You got any food, Mina?" She's like, "What's in your knapsack? Didn't you bring any?"
seems to me that you just have a lot of wafers and you just don't want to share them.
So they get to the castle the next afternoon, or he gets to the castle the next afternoon with Mina sort of in this circle of holy wafers. So Van Helsing finds the tombs of the 3 female vampires and almost can't kill them because they're so hot. But he does.
Damn it. Okay.
Van Helsing then finds a tomb, quote, more lordly than the rest and nobly proportioned. The tomb is inscribed with Count Dracula's name. No first name. So I don't know what his first name is. Vlad?
It's Count.
Count. Oh. he's Count Dracula.
No. He's not a Count. That's just his name. And he just coasted off it. He's like, fucking life hack, guys. If your first name is like Sir or like
Lord.
What's a Lord?
Smart. So the professor cleanses the tomb with communion wafers and seals the castle doors with wafers.
The wafers are the real MVP of the story.
To forever deny the Count entry. So that goes really well for them. Mina.
How do you kill the sexy vampires? Just
stake them, cut off the head, I think is the way they do it. Yeah. So Mina and Van Helsing leave the castle and travel east, hoping to meet the others. There's heavy snowfall and wolves howl everywhere. You know how Dracula had those wolves that you could just make them do stuff. At sunset, they see a large cart on the road below them, driven by gypsies, apparently, and loaded with a box of earth.
Oh.
Yeah.
We know who's in there.
Yeah. From a remote
Dirt
location.
Man himself. Keep going.
Yeah. From a remote location, Mina and Van Helsing watch Seward, Morris, Harker, and Holmwood close in on the gypsies, and they have like a cool manly man standoff. With the sun rapidly sinking, and the gypsies are like defending the cart, and they attack and they get onto it, and they fling the box to the ground. They pry open the lid, and the Count's in there, and he's like, but it can't do anything because it's
Let's get an edit of like Dracula out of the coffin, but it's Twink's face.
From her vantage point, Mina sees Dracula's hateful expression turn to a look of triumph because the sun's about to go down, but then Harker slashes through his throat and Morris plunges a knife into his heart and Dracula dies and his body crumbles to dust. But before it does, Mina notes in his face is a look of peace, like they've saved his soul by doing that or something.
All right.
Quincy Morris turns out to be the only expendable character and dies of a wound.
God, you were just done at this point, drunk and done.
But before he dies, he notes that the scar has vanished from Mina's forehead and that she's found by Jesus again. So that's
yay.
In a little postscript written by Jonathan 7 years later, we learn that he and Mina have a son named Quincy. After the dead dude. And both Seward and Holmwood are happily married now, as is their reward for being such good dudes. And that is the end of the story.
Loved it.
You loved it? Good.
It was fun.
It was.
Really like how drunk you got in the end. Really showing through how.
Yeah, takeaways from fun. Dracula.
I didn't realize it was told in like different mediums, like found footage. So that was kind of fun. Like how Jonathan's diary just stops, and you're like, Keanu Reeves, are you okay? And then through transcripts, was it like fun for you to read / listen to, or would you have preferred a more straightforward like storytelling?
I love the storytelling method. I would say that it's funny, before reading it this time, I think I've read the first 2/3 of the book like 3 times, and I always got bored in the last third. And stopped.
But that's when it's like, what did you say? What horrible thing did you say? Oh, it's on like Donkey Kong at that point.
But I don't know. It just, the spoopiness goes away and it suddenly becomes an adventure story, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas like the first section with Jonathan in Transylvania, and then the second section where Lucy is kind of, in Whitby on the cliffs and stuff. Those I think are the really iconic moments in the book. And I think people could, like, if you ask some random person on the street, like, what happens in Dracula, they could tell you events from the book from those sections, but I don't think a lot of people could tell you how it ends. Maybe I'm projecting.
Who are these people you're asking?
Well, I think, like, all the iconic stuff, I guess, happens in the first 2/3 of the story. But yeah, I guess what I love about it is that it's so...
What? Gothic?
Yeah,
Two
it's
C's,
like, you know,
Gothic.
it's you know, being iconic, it's also good. Like, I guess.
Being iconic is also good. Sandy Whittam.
But, you know, like, I guess there are other iconic, or classic, or you know, kind of stories that maybe are seminal or formative or have influenced a lot, but that in themselves aren't that fun. You know, whereas Dracula, I think, is really fun the whole way. Well, not the whole way through, but, like, it has a lot of really cool, fun stuff, and it's really well written. And
you didn't hear my
No, I
fucking
didn't.
classic literature burn.
What was it?
I said, "Oh, you mean Frankenstein?"
Yeah. Yeah, true. There's a lot of navel gazing in that one. Whereas Dracula's way more, I guess, of an action story.
Mm-hmm.
It was like it was made to be a movie in a lot of ways. Sam just punched the air. She did a bit of freestyle karate.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, like Dracula.
What did you think of Dracula as a character? As a villain?
Is he meant to be sexy?
I don't think so in this version. I think he's meant to be
Bummer.
a bit... I think he's meant to be a bit intimidating and scary. And when he does things that kind of have sexual connotations, it's meant to disgust you. So, like, when he has Mina lapping up his blood for a mustache, you're supposed to be like, ew, rather than like, ooh.
Well, you know me, I love a good sexy vampire, so I'm against this vampire bias. I'll do anything for a sexy vampire.
Vampires were... Well, I mean, maybe we'll do Carmilla at some point, because that was one of the precursors to this. And that's, like, famously the lesbian vampire.
What?
Book.
Carmen? What?
Carmilla.
I've never even heard of it, but lesbian vampires, I'm so fucking...
Yeah, it's also by an Irish guy, actually. Sheridan Le Fanu turns out to be Irish. I always thought he was French for some reason.
It was the Le Fanu.
Le Fanu.
You know, Irish last names, they're just Mac something.
Yeah, true. Oh, apparently Bram is short for Abraham, which kind of makes sense. I always thought Bram was a really weird name. Bram Stoker.
I could respect Bram more. It's kind of like Bram.
Bram, what's up? Yeah.
Bram.
These are the first Vampire Diaries, you might say.
Oh my god, stop it. Oh, you haven't even watched the show. Stop
I haven't.
it. Oh, it's amazing. I don't think you'd like it. It's too dramatic.
No,
it's
I
not
love that stuff. I love it. I love
I love
Supernatural.
stuff.